We're gonna, just things like that. We instead want to really look at this as fourth quarter in a game, in school. We're gonna finish as hard as we can, so we keep mentioning that every day in the announcements, trying to get the kids excited about what we've got coming up because we have a big couple of months ahead. Third through fifth graders are gonna be taking the MAST assessment, Montana Aligned Standards Through Year, which we are piloting this spring. It's something that Montana will be moving to, and we are going to give it a test drive this spring and see how that works. So we're getting everybody excited about that. And that's coming up next month, so we'll probably talk a little bit more about it when we have our May meeting. Then we've got the solar eclipse coming up next week, and the K-5 is going to be doing something very fun. Hopefully, if the weather cooperates. Right now, the prediction is for it to be mostly cloudy. But the PTSA did purchase, I think, 350 or so special glasses so that you can look at the sun. So we're going to meet out in the grassy field and see what we can see. And if there's nothing, it doesn't matter because the next solar eclipse is coming through in 20 years. So we are going to create a time capsule with these awesome glasses that there's no use for them after that. We're going to put those in the time capsule, and the kids are all going to write a little something or put something in there. And I think since I'm told that there was a time capsule made less than 10 years ago, and no one even really remembers where it's buried. So
It's somewhere by the
by the sundial. Yeah, so we might hang this one up maybe in the trophy case and just say, do not open until, 2044 or whatever. So I think that'll be kind of fun. It'll be a little bit of science, a little bit of writing, and a little bit of outside. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. We did set the kindergarten roundup date. That's going to be May 3rd. We will start advertising that next week in the paper. So it'll be advertised for 4 straight weeks before that Friday, May 3rd. And that will be for any student who is age 4 and above, so that we can get into, will you remind me of the name, Mrs. Neeskins?
The early literacy.
Early literacy class, which is going to be available for all students who are age 4 by September 10th, 2024.
And this, Liz, if you could kind of highlight this in the paper. So this is a new law change. If kids are not assessed by June 1st, they cannot get into our 4-year-old program. And this has nothing to do with Whitehall policy. This is state law. So we really need.
That age by what date?
September 10th.
So if they want into what was formerly called our preschool program, but is now called early literacy because of the changes in state law, they have to ideally attend our kindergarten early literacy roundup. And if they don't, they still have to make arrangements with Mr. Koenig to have their child assessed by June 1st. If they're not assessed before June 1st, they're not eligible for the program because they haven't met the legal requirement. So this is totally new. That never used to be the case before, but that is.
And when I send in that advertisement, I'll put those keynotes in there for you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I did really intend to keep this nice and short. I know you guys have been here since 5:30, so that is it for the principal report, unless there's any questions. Okay, AD report, equally as short. All sports seasons will have begun by Thursday. Golf and high school track are already going. They have 25 tracksters and 14 golfers. Some of those do cross over. We have several student athletes that are doing both, and the coaches have gracefully staggered the practice times so that kids can have access to training in both sports, which I'm very pleased with. And track had their first meet last week. Golf is coming up. And then Thursday is the first day of middle school track. There are 52 signed up, which is enormous. We'll see how many of those actually do show up, but there was that many at the interest meeting. And so we'll get those signed up. I'll have firm numbers for you later. Any questions on AD stuff?
Any news on Harrison and golf? I mean, are they participating?
Very good question. They are absolutely participating. We have a couple of Harrison golfers on our team.
Fantastic.
Yep. It's all good news.
All right, any other questions from Mr. Koenig? All right, moving on, Mr. Slater.
All right, thank you. I'm going to try to be quick. There's a ton to go through, as there is every month, so I'm going to get through this in lightning speed. First thing, I want to recognize the staff always getting it done month in, day after day, and that haul from Christmas to Easter is a long haul for teachers. It is. Really appreciate the much-needed break for those people to get some time off, because every week as I go back, I had to remove stuff from the 612 to get this on one page. One thing you've heard me say repetitively is I'm an experience-based guy. Nobody remembers the tests. I don't know how many of you remember the Iowa basic test you used to take, that great memory, right? Different school memories are the experiences, the bus ride, it's the first dance, it's the ski trip. It's these things that are on the back here and the people that put in the extra hours to make these things happen. So I have a lot of those things to recognize. None of this happens without people putting in their extra effort. So without further ado, the school play, the Cave Cat, was successful. Thank you very much to Ms. Pullman and her company, her team. They did a great job with that, and you get to see those kids, unique group, and Sawyer was there, Lily, Jeanette, all those kids, just to see them shine in that. Next year we want to make sure and do a school performance before the community performance so the rest of our kids can see those guys shine. So something we want to work on for next year's. Congratulations, Mr. Lincoln Leary. One thing I switched up that I'm very proud of is how we do Teacher of the Month. Put it out in the newsletter to let all the kids and teachers, anyone that had a Gmail account with us, vote. Write something nice about the teacher. And then even those that didn't win, we went ahead and took those clips and put them in the teachers' boxes. And the feedback we got from the staff, Mr. Clemens, he told me he almost cried. First year guy, and that was the emotion to hear what the kids say about you. So Mr. Leary, he edged you out, unfortunately, but we had a lot of people, and to see our kids recognize the great things their teachers are doing was awesome. So, and then that's up for next month. Right now it's out, so if you want to vote, encourage your student to do so, or you as board members actually have a Gmail account, you can do that. Miss Roy's Miss Worth led students to the Academic Olympics. That's an annual event at MSU. Next, students showed great enthusiasm for our dances. I remember looking, and I'm still relatively new. Last year, people anticipated 30, 40 for prom. We had 116. This year at our prom, our junior C prom, we had over 100 kids attend again. Our middle school dance, they got a little crazy in anticipation for sure. It was extra stress on everybody, excuse me. But it was so cute and worth it. It was amazing. Had over 50 kids. Those kids made over $700 at a middle school dance. So that was pretty awesome. A lot of people to thank on that. Deputy B stepped up and chaperoned both of these events. The staff handled all of the middle school event. Prom, we had some all-star parents that I noted. Their pictures are on the back. Kelly Seckham, Kate Welch. They put in a ton of extra time, so I want to make sure and recognize them. ACT incentive trip, long time coming. Again, that was for the work that this year's seniors did as juniors. They realized the largest increase in the ACT as long as it's been recorded for year to year for Whitehall schools. Had a great time at Discovery. Those kids, Michael Diefendorfer's not somebody that I would picture to just love skiing. If you know him, loved it. Never had been before. How many of these kids, this was their first time, so they got a lesson. They loved it. My biggest regret is those that didn't go because they were scared or have never been skiing in their seniors in Whitehall schools. Attended the advocacy conference in Washington, D.C. One of the best professional developments I've ever experienced. The best trip to D.C. I've ever had. For whatever reason, I had 2 days of, I needed the training, but 2 days of training, and then got to meet a bunch of our congressional representatives, and I gained a ton of respect for the busyness and the amount of work that they do, and just listening to and having conversations with both conservatives and liberals, talking about public education. It was great. I went through acknowledgments on prom, so that was great. Rear view mirror, stuff that's already passed. We held 2 internet safety assemblies. This is very important stuff for our middle school and high schools. Also required for E-rate. We work with the ICAC. Internet Crimes Against Children. Yeah. So had them come, and it's a big eye-opener for the kids when they've already been talking to someone that's posing as somebody else. that's a good assembly. So we worked on that again. Conducted Teacher Professional Development Day on March 15th, focus on upcoming 612 action plan and reviewing the literacy data with our Tier 2 intervention strategies for English teachers. So right now through REL Northwest, Mrs. Berkram, Mr. McLean, and Mrs. Snowling are putting in extra work looking at different interventions for reading. So that's good. Complete a routine search of the middle school. So you may have heard about this. We do periodic canine detection. We did have an incident. Canine worked great. Same with InterQuest. We work with them. Her professionalism was right on point. The parent was very supportive. Unfortunately, we did tickets, and the Jefferson County did ticket somebody for THC in a vape. So that's always unfortunate, but it's also good because it sends a message through the student body. Currently underway, this morning we sent out the state FFA group. That's been quite a deal. They've really learned a lot. They went and harpooned a whale when they only had fishing equipment, so they've been working till midnight every night for a long time. But they are so excited, and there's kids putting in extra time that don't even like school, and they're coming in and working their hearts out on something, so that's pretty amazing. Driver's ed's underway. Thank you to Mr. Head for doing that. Teacher evaluations hiring process. We have a few apps in, and teacher evaluations are underway. Upcoming stuff. ACT is the next huge thing for academics. We have some high five assemblies next week. Montana Makers Middle School event, a couple concerts, and next thing you know, graduation's around the corner. So that's pretty quick. The backside is what it's all about. And as much as we can get worn out and we can take so much as educators, what makes it all worth it are these experiences and these smiles. And that is truly what it's all about. So busy month, as always. So happy, and one thing I don't want to miss, I asked Mr. Clements, one thing that I don't know if I have on here, and Hannah will surely talk about, is accreditation. All the work that goes into that. One thing that I've asked the staff to do, and ultimately it's the teachers that get it done, right? So, asked about Native American Studies, Indian Education for All stuff. First year guy responded amazing and shared some stuff, and he brought a student project that he could share. Do you have it back there, Mr. Clements? Can you tell us about this real quick?
Yeah, so they had to choose an event in history about some native tragedy that happened of some sort, and kind of depict a before and after of the incident, what happened, and explain it on a piece of paper on the side as well. And this student chose Starvation Winter, explaining a before and after perspective of how Starvation Winter changed their lives going forward.
Yeah, that's a sweet example, and Montana's so rich in history, and Indian education is something a lot of times, if you're not purposeful about it, gets glossed over. Our staff, not just Mr. Clements, a whole bunch of them, Miss Walters over there, they did some stuff in the art room as well. Mrs. Roy's, I don't know if you did anything in math, maybe so. That's all right. Anyway, thank you, I'm done.
I have a quick question for
Yeah.
FFA. What were they building that was in the back of that, or that I think was on the flatbed?
Yeah, so it's they made a pit smoker out of a 500-gallon propane tank, and it has a 25-foot trailer that includes a insulated firebox, and then enough to where you can do a whole pig, and then have the wood on the front. They built it essentially from scratch. Obviously, they had to source parts. It's a dual axle trailer, and it is impressive.
Are they going to use it this weekend?
They're not using it. They just show. So there's this
they're
big thing
auctioning
called
it.
the Jam competition.
Yeah.
It's a statewide competition, and then it's right next to the Metra, and all the different FFA chapters have it kind of unveil what they've done as a club, their big showstopper. And I heard from our kids that it looks like ours is the showstopper.
That's
So we'll see. It's their
Yeah.
first time. I hope they do well. I know that they're excited about it, and the kids have a lot of ownership in it.
And they
Yeah.
are going to sell it so that they get the proceeds to help fund their program. So I think it's gonna be either raffled or auctioned off, is what their teacher has told me.
That's great. All right, any more questions for Mr. Slater? All right, Ms. Neeskins.
Just adding in one more date onto that calendar, so the 19th and 20th of this month is State Music Festival. It's close, it's in Butte, so if you're interested in going to State Music Festival and supporting our kids, they're competing both Friday and Saturday. So plenty of opportunities there. There's solo and group performances, but we typically do quite well at that, so Mrs. Heilig will be taking a group of high school kids over there for that. I feel like a little bit of a broken record here about our pre-K building, but the heat went in yesterday, so that was the last thing we needed in order for it to now pass, hopefully, final inspection and then be able to open. But I just feel like it's delay after delay, but everything, as we know, is finished. It's been inspected, pre-inspected multiple times, so we have every reason to believe it'll pass its final inspection, and Christy will be moving in shortly. Some great news for us and not great news for other districts. So Montana Unified School Trust, which is our health insurer, had an average increase across the board for most districts of their health insurance of 26%. There were 3 districts in our region, Manhattan, Dillon, and Amsterdam, that had 100% increases, which means their premiums doubled for next year. We only had a 3% increase. So we were the lowest in the entire trust. So kudos to our staff for being healthy and helping to keep our rates down. It really does help that we don't have a lot of staff on specialty drugs, which drive your rates up faster than anything. But I was extraordinarily nervous. I kept telling Alyssa, I felt like I was waiting for a bomb to drop, just getting these numbers, because they had told us to expect a big increase. And we dodged a bullet. So we're in good shape for next year with that. I have not received our property tax increase yet. It goes up every year. Last year it went up somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $12,000. I can't remember the exact amount. Even though we had no claims. And this is something where the whole group, all of the schools in the state, kind of absorb each other's issues. And they had a lot of claims that had to do, they told me, with weight rooms was one thing, and the other one, I can't remember what the other one was. There was 2 things. But basically, I think, cyber crimes. So those 2 things have kind of driven up the rates for everyone, unfortunately. But we'll find out hopefully by next month what that looks like for us, and hopefully we get lucky there as well. Just to give you an update on hiring, we have 2 positions we're advertising for, which one is in the 612, and that is an elective teaching position to teach electives, and the other one is a first grade teaching position, because we have a 5th grade teacher who is not returning next year. Mrs. Welch has resigned, and she's done a great job this year, but has chosen not to return for next year because she's commuting. And then Mrs. Ferrand has elected to move back to 5th grade. So you may remember Mrs. Ferrand previously did a great job in 5th grade, needed a change and went to 1st. She'll be returning to 5th, which means we have a 1st grade position, and we have several candidates who have applied for that as well. So we'll be working through these interviews and the hiring process, and hopefully have names to you by the next board meeting. Jason mentioned accreditation. I don't intend to spend a lot of time on it because it's gone into kind of that outer space place. I've previously gone over the accreditation expectations with you guys. We have submitted our accreditation information, but we don't know how we've done. So I will be visiting kind of with you in the future about what our accreditation stance is. We have every reason to believe we'll be fully accredited, but it's in OPI limbo land right now. They basically tell you you've submitted it, and they have no, ETA of when we'll actually get that information back. So hopefully soon, but again, we don't have any reason to believe that we won't be accredited. So that is my report. Does anyone have questions on that?
Oh, all right, moving on. Old business, review athletics expenditures and review and revenue.
Nope, you must be on a different old agenda. Here, I'll trade you. That's last month's. That's the March agenda. I don't know. Yours
I
didn't
guess
load.
it is. I looked. It's not-
Yeah. If you're still seeing that, you might want to close out and then reopen
Always
your
getting the
locker.
bad iPad. All right, new business, rehire certified teaching staff.
So this will be dual motions because that we have 4 staff members whose primary assignment is high school with no middle school sections. And so we'll first have a high school only motion to rehire Ms. Berkram, Ms. Kidd, Mr. Kozicki, and Ms. Royce.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And so now the remaining staff teaches in K-12, so this will be a joint motion. And this includes Ms. Bateman, Ms. Boda, Ms. Caldwell, Ms. Christensen, Mr. Clements, Ms. Farrand, Mr. Head, Ms. Head, Ms. Heilig, Ms. Hoover, Ms. Jenkins, Ms. Jank, Ms. Johnson, Ms. Kidwell, Ms. Noling, Mr. Leary, Ms. Loomis, Mr. McLean, Ms. McLean, Ms. McReynolds, Ms. Miller, Mr. Miyoki, Mr. Norbeck, Ms. Alverson, Ms. Ronsberg, Ms. Schilling, Ms. Schofield, Ms. Slater, Mr. Vile, Ms. Walter, and Ms. Worth.
Move to rehire the teachers listed.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, rehire 612 principal, hang on. Rehire elementary principal Curtis Koenig.
Yes, Mr. Koenig's the second agenda item. So
Yeah.
if you were, for those board members who were in the previous session, you know that we cannot discuss performance, of course, when we discuss individuals, but I will say that it is great. So Mr. Koenig's done a wonderful job. We can't get into specifics, but he's done a wonderful job in his position, and I would ask that you rehire him.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Rehire 612 principal Jason Slater.
So Mr. Slater is also doing a great job in our 612. Lots of things going on there. He was a good help to me on the accreditation recently, so I appreciate all the time and effort that you put into that. Please rehire Mr. Slater.
Move to rehire Mr. Slater.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Rehire, why do we have to rehire you when
Well,
we have another contract?
so, yeah, so my contract automatically renews on February 1st, pending state, according to state law, but this is just a formal
Rehire? All right.
Rehire him, he's gonna-
Second.
Any discussion? I'll let you guys work out. You work out who said it first. All right, any discussion?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, well, motion carries. Hire middle school assistant track coach Sarah Bates.
So as you heard, we have 52 middle school students participating in track. We already have 2 coaches hired, but this, we require a 3rd person. So yeah, please hire her.
Move to hire Sarah Bates.
I second that.
Any
She's got it.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Hire 21st century program staff.
So for the spring, this will be Mr. Vile and Ms. Jenkins. For summer, it's Mrs. Woke, Mr. Beige, Ms. Dyson, Mr. Norbeck, Mrs. Heilig, and Miss Megan Johnson.
Move to hire the teachers as, or the staff as listed.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Parking lot resurfacing summer project.
So I would like the board to approve a larger maintenance project for us that needs to occur in the summer. I'm sure, as you've noticed, the east and west parking lots are both in dire need of resurfacing and restriping. So I would like approval for Scott and I to accept a reasonable bid to conduct work. The project will be funded by the multi-district fund, and I have fund balances there for you in the notes. We have the money to do it, without depleting our metal mines reserves and so on. So, we don't actually have bids for this yet, but previously in the past for large maintenance projects, you've done some sort of thing like up to a certain
Yep.
dollar amount. We think that it will be well under $100,000 to do all of this. Obviously, if it exceeds that, then we would bring it back to the board. But what we're looking to do is a heavy chip seal with repairs as well as striping and/or an asphalt top coat. We're not quite sure which product, we're gonna have basically our contractors make proposals as to what they think would give us the most durability for the length of time that we desire. So,
I move to approve a reasonable bid as discussed.
Second.
Any discussion?
What about the speed bumps?
So.
Or the half-speed bumps?
Yes, the mountains, you mean, the small mountains out in the park? So what we've discussed, Scott and I, is that you can build up to them, so it's not quite as abrupt. The other thing that they could do is just shear them off and redo them at a lower level. Those were put in when we repaved last time, which was, I believe, 8 years ago.
Yeah, Solly was here.
Yeah,
so
it was 7 or 8 years ago, but regardless, I have no idea why they're so abnormally high. But we will do our best to mitigate that. And I think there's probably a way of just doing it on a slight grade up to and away from them so that we don't actually have to shear them off, but we will discuss that with the
Those
contractor.
are like permanent, right? They're not just the ones that you.
No, they're permanent, so they would have to remove them and start over or do some sort of
Build up.
process to build up to them. I think that's possible. We will discuss that with the contractor, but it's on our list of. The other thing that we have discussed as part of this, and we will have them bid it separately in case it pushes us over our limit, is that's actually a public street. So that's part of Yellowstone Trail from the turn into the high school parking lot until the first speed bump. So that very short portion of road that is in its worst condition has tons of potholes. And they do actually fill in those potholes every summer, is actually the cities. But as Scott and I have discussed, we're unwilling to do this project without also fixing that, so, because that would be just silly, like, welcome to Whitehall, here's our short strip of driveway that's awful, and then our parking lot is great, that doesn't make sense, so we'll have them bid that separately, and as long as it, is a reasonable amount of money, we'll just donate it to the city because it needs to be done. So,
And as Corey would say, every time they fill those in, it's like putting a Band-Aid over a huge wound.
yeah.
They're just gonna keep coming
Well,
back.
especially because that's where everyone stops as they exit the parking lot. There's just kind of a giant pothole that stays there forever. Any other thoughts on the parking lot
Did we have a second?
project? We did have a second, but then we discussed.
That
Need to vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, school board election update.
Yeah, so there's no action on this. This is just an update. So the two vacant positions on the board for the Whitehall seats were Gina's current seat, and Gina is retiring from the board after 12 years. So next month will be her last meeting. She's
It'll be a half
excited.
meeting.
She's excited. And Rico's seat, which he was appointed to. And we have, the deadline has passed for people to file for those seats. And Rico has refiled, and Aaron Hildreth has filed for Gina's seat. So those positions, unless we have someone come in before the end of this week for a write-in, will be awarded by acclamation. So there does not have to be an election, which is great because it saves us like $3,000 in postage. So that's positive. The Cardwell seat, which is occupied by Robin currently, that one is going to an election, and Robin Beckers has refiled, as well as a candidate, Questa Edwards. So that will be an elected position of the Cardwell / Three Forks / Willow Creek elementary students that have Whitehall High School as their home high school. So we have people in all three of those districts that are assigned to Whitehall High School. So those electors will receive a ballot by the end of the month. We just talked to Ginger Kuntz today. She is our, she is our county elections administrator, and she will be sending out the ballots for the school, so that the county will be conducting that election. Because it is by mail-in ballot, so those should be coming out within the next, I would say, week to two, because they have to be returned by the May meeting, which is when we reorganize. Yep.
All right, any questions for Hannah on that? All right, moving forward, approve claims and accounts. We'll do elementary first.
I move to approve the elementary claims and accounts.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll do high school now.
I move to approve the high school claims and accounts.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And then I will add just one other thing before we terminate the meeting, which is sometimes we have to move our May meeting depending upon when the county has certified our election results, because we do have to reorganize at the May meeting. So we will certainly announce if that date has to be changed, but that's not up to us. That's up to Ginger Kuntz, whether she has that, when she's going to be prepared to announce who has that seat.
All right,
All right?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
motion carries.